You're welcome. In a strategic move to counter the dominance of the ruling All Progressives Congress, former Nigerian Vice President Atiku Abubakar has called for the merger of Nigeria's opposition parties. This proposal was made during a meeting with the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, otherwise known as IPAC. It aims to build a formidable front against what Atiku perceives as a threat to Nigeria's democracy. He's concerned over the APC's actions, which he says is leading Nigeria towards becoming a one-party dictatorship. Now, tonight on Politics Issue, as we said earlier, we have representatives from Nigeria's leading opposition parties. And of course, we'll look at the potential impact of this proposed measure. We on the brink of a significant political shift in Nigeria. Let's introduce our guests tonight on the program. First off, we have Tanko Yunusa. He is the spokesman of the Labour Party's Presidential Campaign Council. He joins us via Zoom. Tanko Yunusa, good evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, Nigerians.
We're also joined by prominent Nigerian lawyer and former chairman of the Defunct Special Presidential Investigation Panel, Okoi Obono-Obla. Mr. Obla, good evening. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, Kofi. Nice to see you again.
All right. And indeed, Dabiraoluwa, Adeyinka, it's a human rights activist and spokesperson for the People's Democratic Party governorship candidate in the 2023 governorship election. Dabiraoluwa, Adeyinka, thank you so much for your time.
Good evening. Thank you. Good evening, Nigerians.
Let's get into the conversation. Starting with Tanko Yunusa of the Labour Party, how does your party perceive Atiku Abubakar's call for a merger of Nigeria's opposition parties? And what considerations are the Labour Party, or is the Labour Party making with regards to this proposal?
Okay, naturally, those who have been in the trenches for a very long time, political parties who have been in the trenches for a very long time, would always want to advocate for working together. But it depends on the kind of nature it will take. I remember with nostalgia, the COP Alliance, at that time I was the national chairman of the National Conscience Party. And then the group started under the Coalition for a New Nigeria. And at that time, it was the 2019 general elections. Our thinking was that, 2015. Our thinking was that we can come together under working alliance to produce a common candidate, and then we can spread the positions across the board. Of course, the Coalition for a New Nigeria started way ahead before the COP Alliance came in. The COP Alliance also was under the, proposal being made by the PDP as at that time. But unfortunately, the alliance that took place at that time was usurped by the PDP itself, because what we wanted at that point was that to work together as a team so that other political parties can also win something. That is after we got the win that INEC was going to deregister political parties. And eventually, if PDP, as at that time, had agreed to the modus operandi that we've already put on ground, that every political party in that alliance would have been able to win a single seat, be it in the State Assembly or in the National Assembly, majority of the political party will have been surviving and possibly will have worked together with the PDP as the case may be, and then we will have had a common front. The problem is about burden of trust, whether the major political party in the alliance will be able to, go along with other political parties and giving them a reasonable fair share of political position. But the problem always is that the PDP always feel as if it's more superior than all other political parties. So it tried to take up the chunk of the discussions, and that has become a problem for any working alliance to occur. So in this case, we as a Labour Party, which has now assumed a life of its own, we will be willing to welcome anybody to join us so that we can work together. Because as you see right now, the Labour Party has gotten a brand name of itself with our principal, His Excellency Peter Gregory Obi. So we will not be seen as emerging into another political party, but rather we will be willing to accept a lot of people into the party. Be it other political party who are willing to join us, we are ready to do that.
Okay.
But
so Tanko, you're saying that that Labour Party, from your point of standpoint, will be willing to accept anyone who wants to join you, and not not to collapse the party into one opposition coalition.
Yes, because you see, the process of merger and alliance are two different things. When you talk about merger, what will happen is that you will submit your certificate of registration to INEC after you call for a meeting, national working committee meeting of the political party. Then you will cease to be the political party that used to be. For example, if we say Labour Party will submit its document to INEC. PDP will submit its document to INEC. Then we will now come under a new name. That is more or less like a birth of a new political party, which a lot of political parties may not be willing to do. But the easiest route for us to take is for us to work together under a working alliance, sharing position of power in certain percentage. For example, you may say 50-50, 50-40, 50-30 across the board. Then every candidate will work together at once. So that is the difference between an alliance and a merger. So for people who want to do a merger, must be ready to really collapse its political party, it will be a non-existence. And that is the danger about a merger, which many political party chairmen and leaders may not wish to take at this point in time. But I know many are willing for an alliance. So it now depends on the kind of shape in which the proposal is going to take. I just gave you an example of what took place in 2015, which made the issue of merger on alliance not to work. But now, if it will work, then it must start in earnest, and the discussion must start like right now, because it has its processes. Because before you start selling it to the people, it will be difficult. As we speak right now, for us, the Labour Party, we've already had a brand, and it's making waves. People.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that it's more feasible and likely that you have not a merger, but an alliance of parties, a coalition of sorts. I want to come to the PDP lady in the studio. Of course, we have other things that are of interest to you today as far as the presidential governorship election petition judgment is concerned. We'll come to that, but Dabiraoluwa, apologies for that. Yes. What's your take on what Tanko Yunusa said? He says the PDP, which the party your candidate is a member of, always feels that it's bigger than other political parties and therefore always wants the others to come to it. He's saying Labour Party is now the biggest opposition brand in Nigeria, so every other opposition party should come to them. But what he thinks is that it will be more feasible to have an alliance of political parties rather than merging of political parties. What's your take on this?
Thank you very much. I think I'm going to align with a school of thought because we've seen that kind of sequence where introduction of margin is being proposed, and going back and forth. I've been privileged to attend a few ones before the past election where they were trying to form a big tent, and all the political parties were there, and I was privileged to be in that room with the entire political parties, I think except for APC. And the struggle was actually about the hidden interest of individual parties. And like he said, instead of margins, why don't we have like a ratio for everybody? Let's come together and build an alliance rather than saying a margin, because everybody's already building a brand. And I think for every leader that is thinking towards delivering a better Nigeria to every individual out there today should be thinking not about their own self-interest, but but about the interest of the people. So when you tone down on your own self-interest, anything can fly to give us the kind of success we're looking forward to. So I'm going to be aligning with the school of thought to say, look, merger is okay. I think it's about the right time to start proposing such ideas. But rather than that, everybody is trying to clean up their house. Everybody is checking out what their errors and mistakes are. People can actually align with one another and then have a mutual understanding on, okay, let me retain my party, you retain your party, but at this aspect, we are stronger. You could build a force with us, then we achieve our aim, we build with you, we achieve our aim, because take it or leave it. I am also foreseeing a one-party state in future. And I don't pray that happens to Nigeria, like we already have in Lagos State, where over 20-something years, a particular party is in control, and people don't have the right to even contest with, with this ruling class, this ruling party. And I don't want to imagine that happening to Nigeria, but this is the right time for people to go back home and go back to the drawing board and leave their own personal interests. See, everybody's got ideas, but we all need to come to the to the table and say, okay, I'm not the primary subject here. My party is not the primary subject, but the interest of the common Nigerians out there that are encountering the present predicament we found ourselves in. So when the common interest of the people is put ahead of everything, all leaders can then come together and reason alike. Thank you.
All right. Interesting. Okoi Obono-Obla, I don't know if you are the odd one out. Maybe you're card carrying member of one of the parties you want to tell us, so we know how to address you. But what are your thoughts on this? Here again we go, the same posturing we saw during the 2023 elections, where they were talking about the third force. They were talking about the political parties in the opposition, talking about coming together. In fact, even went to the news. It was in the papers and in the media that they had agreed on a coalition or an alliance of sorts. But we can see that nobody wants to shift ground, but they are rather comfortable with, let's keep our bases, let's keep our structures, and let's have a convenient arrangement. What are your thoughts on this, Barrister?
Well, I have experience in merger of political parties because I was the co-secretary of the Joint Inter-Party Merger Committee. That committee was a collapse of the merger committee of CPC, Action Congress of Nigeria, or Nigeria People's Party, and then factions of ABGA and DPP. All the four major committees collapsed to form the Joint Inter-Party Merger Committee, and I was the secretary. That committee negotiated the formation of APC, and it was the first merger in Nigerian constitutional history. So I am surprised my colleagues are advocating for alliance rather than merger, what former Vice President Atiku Abubakar advocated for. Alliance has never succeeded in Nigeria, and taking into account the fact that we are running a presidential system of government, not a parliamentary system of government, I don't know how alliance can succeed. But let's go back to history. In 1953, there was an alliance between Action Congress, Action Congress, yes, Action Congress. No, what's the name of that party? There was an alliance between Awolowo's party and Action Group and United Nigeria Independence Party. When there was when a crisis broke out in the Eastern Nigeria House of Assembly, when Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe lost the election in Western Nigeria, he returned home, and then Professor Yoita, who was by part of the in the Eastern Nigeria House of Assembly, was asked to step down by the leaders of NCNC, and then the supporters did not accept. So that led to a split of the NCNC, the Eastern region. People like Dr. Okoi pulled out, and then they formed a party, United Nigerian Independence Party, that was advocating for the creation of Calabar, Ogoja River State out of Eastern region. That alliance didn't work. Then you remember SCNC and Northern People's Congress also aligned, alliance. We did work at Shivakintola's party, the Nigerian Nigerian National Democratic Party tried to align with Northern People's Congress in 1964. It failed. Then SCNC, Action Group, and Amino Kano's Northern Elements Progressive Union. They also form an alliance known as Grand Progressive Grand Alliance to fight the 1964 election. It failed. Then in 1979, when we had a presidential system of government, MPP, Dr. Nazi Azikiwe's Nigerian People's Party, formed a coalition with the National Party of Nigeria. And that coalition existed for only just 2 years. It collapsed. Then in 1983 presidential election, MPP, Nigerian People's Congress, Unity Party of Nigeria, GMPP, and Amino Kano's People's Redemption Party, they tried to align. They call it People's Progressive Alliance. And it failed, it collapsed. We also, in 1999, the Defunct Action for Democracy and the Defunct APP, they tried to form an alliance, and it didn't work. And from I used to be a member of CPC. In 2011, CPC and ACN tried to form an alliance to fight the presidential election. At that time, Gerald Buhari had picked Pastor Tunde Bakari as his running mate. And there was this pressure on Pastor Tunde Bakari to step down so that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu would become Gerald Buhari's running mate. And that talk collapsed. That was what those experiences guided what we did in 2013 when ACN, AMPP, CPC, ABGA, and DPP collapsed all their structures because we wanted to take power from PDP, and we realized that if we do not, all of us would not come together, there's no way we are going to push out PDP. And we agreed to collapse all our interests, okay? We handed over our statutory administration, we prepared a new constitution, new manifesto.
Okay, so Obono-Obla, what you're saying in essence is that
registered us
yes
on the 31st of July 2013.
Okay.
So following that, I thought the opposition are serious. I was even excited when I heard Abubakar's advocacy or call. I said, yes, we need to have two major political parties in Nigeria so that PDP or whoever party emerges from that measure will give a stiff opposition to a...
Okay, thank you, Barrister Okoi Obono-Obla, thank you so much. Tanko Yunusa, you've heard from the lawyer, and he's given an extensive history. We shouldn't leave out the third force coalition of Obi Ezekwesili, Faladro Toye, Omoyele Shore, and Kingsley Moghalu, which fell Yakata, like Nigerians would say, before the election. So what's your take on that? He has said that right now the talk should not be of a coalition, but of a merger like the APC was able to do.
Okay, let me explain. I lay my premises on the fact of the interest that is being shown by each group. Like I said earlier on, the campaign failed principally because the PDP was not being fair to all other political parties. They wanted to dominate that particular process of the alliance. So that is the reason why, except of course, if now they are willing to come down from their high horse and really face reality and say, okay, we will take an equitable position, or at least a major chunk of the position will be given also to other political parties that are willing to go onto the alliance. Let me give you an example of what happened in before the 2023 election. I was the secretary of the Coalition for a New Nigeria, and a meeting of political parties was conducted. I visited, out of the 18 political parties, I visited 16 of the. By the time we were able to cascade down, we were able to come to 5 political parties. These political parties were ZLP, PRP, SDP, APP, that's APN, of that of Yapagi, that is the present IPAC chairman. And then there's another political party that joined us at that time. There were 5 political parties. The Black Unwosu political party.
That's,
that was the political party.
That's ADC?
That's ADC. Now, these 5 political parties, I was the secretary. We were almost closing up to a deal of having a merger. It was close to just the election. The ADC, first of all, agreed for us to rebrand the political party. We've already gotten the branding and everything in Labour Congress ready to work with us. Unfortunately, this was midwifed by the National Consultative Forum led by Professor Pat Otomi, Wale Okoniyi, my humble self, and quite a number of political party leaders. Unfortunately, just at the dying minute, the ADC chairman renegated on that particular promise of relinquishing the party as the strong political party for the merger. Now, eventually, we ended up not having the political party that we will use for the merger. He wanted to go alone. PRP was not ready for a merger. They were ready for an alliance. ZLP was ready for a merger. SDP was not ready for a merger. Then the other political party were ready for a merger. We had 2 for a merger, 2 not interested in merger, and 1 abstained. So that was the reason why I said possibly the only thing that can work at the moment for this political party is a working alliance.
Okay.
Yes, graph the failures of merger. Probably what happened was that the merger were not fully conceptualized early enough to see what is the workability. But now we have ample time to start the issue of the
so you are agreeing, Tanko Yunusa, you're agreeing that a merger is what is needed if all the parties in the opposition can agree.
If the party can agree, it will be stronger.
All right. Please hold the thought. Please hold the thought. I want to quickly come back to Adeyinka, who is here with us in the studio, Dabiraoluwa. Talking about the fear that Nigeria is sliding to a one-party state. You were agreeing with what Tanko Yunusa said. We want to touch on that. But talking about the fear by Atiku that he has expressed that Nigeria is sliding to a one-party state, is what happened in Lagos State, where the All Progressives Congress, previously AC, previously ACN, previously AD under Bola Tinubu, has held the political power in the state all these years, and no single party or other party has been able to sniff it. Is that what you see playing out at the federal level? And how was he able to do it in Lagos State? Okay,
so that's what I see. That's the kind of movie we are playing into if care is not taken. And I'm going to quickly deft back into the merger and the alliance thing. The merger is the only option that I see that can work now. Like the instance that Alhaji Tanko gave, I was part of that body that formed, that alliance at that time they were trying to put together. And the only thing I understood from the body language of all the political leaders in the room was their personal interest. Like, how can I let go from a high horse, like, he rightly said. The alliance would have been the best idea if AC can drop from their high horse and then collapse the entire force that was willing to work with them to form the APC of today, that is now the ruling class party. Why can't other political leaders sacrifice? Because it's not even about the name. Nigerians are tired of this stethoscope of these existing political parties that are taking turns after turns like it's their, family inheritance. We want to see something fresh and new. So if you're going to be talking about alliance, it has to be a fresh idea completely from whether the old foundation we already have, then build something, build a structure, a structure that can stand the test of time, that the youth, the Nigerian youth can also participate in and, take a step in. And I will give it to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He used to be somebody I admire from afar before I even delved into wanting to be interested in Nigerian, politics and all. He understood politics and he understood how to make good use of intelligent material when he finds some. Today's politicians will only make use of you when they need you. And then after election is gone, they dump those people. So this past election, I was sharing with someone before getting to the studio. I said, look, what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was able to do was he listened to the Nigerian youth a lot and he took them in and worked with them in his camp. And they were able to help him navigate through this hard time that, he could narrowly win the election, because I would say he actually narrowly won the election, or whatever it is that happened.
Was that his template to make Lagos a one-party state of
sorts?
Yeah.
I think he has just a template. He has a pattern. He has a drafted template, and I think he's been planning this template for years, even probably before I was even born, and the template is working for him. So what are the lessons we can take out of these for our now politicians to not just be these use and dump kind of leaders that we have been seeing? When it's close to election, they want to buy ideas from the youth and say, oh, what can you guys bring in and all? And then after election, you dump them and be like, okay, we no longer need them. Then a year, 6 months to election, you're coming back to us and say, oh, we want you guys to be part of us and all that. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will keep good hands.
All right.
All
right.
And that is what they should all learn from it. They're talking about mergers. People will be willing to merge. It's not about the name for us. It's about who can deliver the country from nose diving into this terrible state.
Finally, this is so much to unpack with all three of you in so little time. Your reaction to today's appeal court decision regarding the Lagos State governorship election petition, which your candidate, Abdulaziz Adeyinka Jando, was a part of.
Yeah, my take, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
very briefly.
Okay, before now, I already gave my own verdict about the court, and I said, look, Nigerian system is a corrupt system, and who is the judge? Who are the people in the courts? Who are the people who employ them? Who is paying on whose payroll are they on? So I don't see anything working in Nigeria as long as our judiciary system is concerned. I don't see any justice when election is over and you lose to a rigged election or an election where people are denied their right to vote openly. The first case should be, why should people be threatened on the day of election? Why should there be curfew on the day of election in a country, in a state that is civilized, is a city, and then those happened and nobody is seen looking towards that direction, and all we are talking about is, oh, you didn't win, I won, you didn't have a certificate. I have told everybody that cares to listen, look, all the people that have ever become leaders in Nigeria, they almost literally don't have certificates, but they end up ruling us.
All right. I'm afraid we have to leave it at that. Gentleman and lady, it's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot from what you've said. Quite interesting, in-depth analysis and even historical context from all of you. And you're the right people to have taken up this conversation. Okoi Obono-Obla is a lawyer. He is a former chairman of the Defunct Special Presidential Investigation Panel. We've had also in the studio a member of the People's Democratic Party Governorship campaign team, his spokesman to Lagos State candidate of that party in that election, Dabiraoluwa Adeyinka. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, the man who's the face of LP, Yunusa Salisu Tanko, Datti presidential campaign chief spokesperson, Labour Party. Thank you so very kindly for your time.